What if I told you that the person God chooses to do something extraordinary isn't the strongest, the most confident, or the most qualified? What if, right now, in this moment of your life, where you feel completely inadequate, completely overwhelmed, completely unworthy of what God is calling you to do, what if that's exactly when God is closest? What if your weakness isn't a disqualification, but an invitation? I've been wrestling with this question for a long time, and today, we're going to discover something together in a story that might change everything you believe about what you're capable of. This is the story of Gideon. There's something that happens to all of us at some point. We feel small. We feel overlooked. We feel like we're the last person anyone would ever choose for something important. Maybe it's in your career, where you're the newest, the least experienced, the one everyone doubts. Maybe it's in your faith, where you feel like you've failed too many times, you're not spiritual enough, not strong enough, not worthy enough to be used by God. Maybe it's in your relationships, where you feel like you're always the broken one, the one who messes things up, the one nobody really relies on. This message is for anyone who's ever felt that way, for anyone who's ever looked at what God is asking them to do and thought, how could I possibly be the right person for this? Because today, we're talking about a man who felt exactly that way. His name was Gideon, and his story is about to show you something revolutionary about weakness and strength that you've never considered before. Imagine this. You're living in a time of complete oppression. The Midianites have been attacking your people for 7 years, destroying crops, stealing livestock, leaving everyone destitute and terrified. Every time harvest season comes around, instead of gathering what you've grown, soldiers come and take it all. Your family is struggling. Your community is broken. Fear has become as normal as breathing. And in the middle of this chaos, you're hiding. Not hiding because you're a coward, though you might feel that way about yourself, but hiding because you're trying to protect what little your family has left. You're threshing wheat in a wine press, of all places, trying to do it in secret, so the enemy won't see you. This is where we meet Gideon. Not as a hero, not as someone confident or capable or strong. We meet him as someone trying to survive, someone doing the bare minimum, someone who is afraid. Then an angel appears to him, not with congratulations, not with "you're chosen because you're amazing," but with these words, "The Lord is with you, mighty warrior." And Gideon's response? It's not, "Yes, let's go." It's honest. It's raw. It's the response of someone who feels the complete opposite of what he's being told. He says, essentially, wait, if God is really with us, where has he been for the last 7 years? Where has he been while we've been suffering? His doubt isn't polite. His confusion isn't gentle. It's the cry of someone who's been abandoned, who's watched his people suffer, who doesn't understand why he's being called at all. And here's what I need you to understand. God didn't reject Gideon for his doubt. He didn't say, "Never mind, I'll find someone more faithful." Instead, God met him exactly where he was, in his fear, in his confusion, in his complete lack of confidence. But then the real struggle begins. God tells Gideon to go fight the Midianites, to lead an army, to be the one who saves his people. And Gideon is terrified. He's so afraid that he asks for a sign. He puts a fleece on the ground and says, "God, if you really want me to do this, make the fleece wet with dew, but keep the ground dry." And God does it. But even then, Gideon isn't satisfied. His faith is so shaky that he asks for another sign. This time, the opposite. Make the fleece dry and the ground wet. And God, in his patience, does that too. Because God understands something about Gideon, that Gideon doesn't understand about himself yet. His weakness, his doubt, his need for reassurance. These aren't obstacles to God. They're the exact conditions under which God's strength becomes visible. Then comes the moment of real crisis. Gideon finally gathers an army. He gets 32,000 men ready to fight. And then God says something that should terrify him even more. You have too many people. And God starts reducing his army, first down to 10,000. Then God uses a test, having the men drink water, and it gets reduced to just 300 men. 300. Against an enemy so massive, so numerous, that the Bible says they were like locusts covering the land. Can you imagine how Gideon must have felt in that moment? The panic, the certainty that this is impossible, the absolute conviction that he's going to fail, that his people are going to be slaughtered, and that it's going to be his fault because he was chosen, because he was supposed to lead them, because somehow God thought he was the right person for this. This is the moment where most of us would quit. This is the moment where we'd say, I can't do this. I'm not strong enough. I'm not capable enough. I was right all along. I shouldn't have been chosen. But then God does something extraordinary. He tells Gideon to go down to the enemy camp, and Gideon goes, still afraid, still doubting, and he overhears two Midianite soldiers talking. One has had a dream, a nightmare, about a loaf of bread rolling into the camp and destroying everything. The other soldier interprets it. This is the sword of Gideon, son of Joash, a man of Israel. God has given the Midianites and the whole camp into his hands. And Gideon hears this. This enemy soldier is speaking about him with fear and certainty. The enemy already believes that Gideon will defeat them. And in that moment, something shifts. Not because Gideon suddenly becomes confident, not because he suddenly believes in himself, but because he realizes that this isn't about him at all. This isn't about his strength. This isn't about his capability. This is about something so much bigger than him. The outcome has already been decided. His weakness isn't an obstacle. It's the entire point. Think about that for a moment. God took away Gideon's soldiers one by one, not because he needed a smaller army, but because he needed Gideon to be absolutely certain that the victory couldn't possibly come from human strength. With 32,000 men, Gideon might have thought, well, we have a decent chance here. We have numbers. But with 300 men against an army like locusts, there's no human explanation for victory. There's no room for pride. There's no way to take credit. The only way this works is if God is the one fighting. And that's exactly what God is teaching Gideon and us in this moment. So Gideon and his 300 men go into battle. Not with weapons, but with trumpets and torches and jars. They surround the enemy camp, blow the trumpets, break the jars to reveal the light, and they shout, "A sword for the Lord and for Gideon!" And something miraculous happens. The enemy, in panic and confusion, starts fighting each other. They destroy themselves. The victory comes not through strength, but through faith. Not through numbers, but through obedience. Not through Gideon's confidence, but through his surrender. But here's what I want you to really hear. Gideon never became someone different. He was still the same doubting, afraid, insecure man. He didn't suddenly gain confidence or turn into a different person. What changed was his understanding of where strength actually comes from. His weakness didn't disqualify him. It qualified him. Because when we're weak, when we've reached the end of ourselves, when we can't possibly do it in our own strength, that's when God's power becomes undeniable. That's when the victory is clearly His, not ours. That's the turning point, Not Gideon becoming strong, but Gideon understanding that he doesn't have to be. So right now, in whatever you're facing, whatever feels impossible, whatever you're convinced you're not equipped to handle, remember this: God doesn't choose the strongest. He chooses the ones willing to surrender their strength and trust His. Your weakness isn't a problem to be solved. It's an invitation to experience God's power in a way that only the weak can experience it. You don't have to become someone different. You don't have to suddenly gain all the answers, or the confidence, or the capability. You just have to be willing to show up exactly as you are. Afraid, doubtful, uncertain, and let God do what only He can do. That's not weakness. That's wisdom. And that's the greatest strength you'll ever know. Your wilderness season, your inadequacy, your fear, they're not disqualifications. They're invitations. God is closer to you in your weakness than He's ever been. And He chose you anyway.